Over the 2 decades since, he has proved himself, as predicted in 1976, a champion, but on a global scale, capitalizing on other countries' weaknesses and mistakes, seizing on opportunities and openings. Energy would be central to that entire agenda. He understood the power that came from Russia's oil and gas. Western interlocutors would be consistently surprised by his detailed knowledge on the energy industry and energy markets and the fluency with which he discussed the intricacies, as much like a CEO, they would say, as a head of state. Under Putin, the government reasserted its control over the energy industry. Mikhail Khodorkovsky, the head of Yukos, one of the biggest of the new oil companies, and among the most powerful of the new oligarchs, challenged Putin directly and ended up spending 10 years in a prison camp. Yukos assets were absorbed by the state company Rosneft. The company's CEO is Igor Sechin, former deputy prime minister, who had worked with Putin in the mayor's office in St. Petersburg in the early 90s. In 2013, Rosneft took over a major company, TNK-BP, in a $55 billion deal that made it a larger oil producer than ExxonMobil. In 2016, it acquired another company, Bashneft. Today, Rosneft produces 40% of Russia's total oil. The government owns just over half of the company and has the controlling share. Similarly, the Russian government holds the controlling stake in the giant gas company Gazprom, headed by Alexei Miller, who has also with Putin in the mayor's office in St. Petersburg in the early 1990s. In 2005, Gazprom acquired Sibneft from another oligarch, renaming it Gazprom Neft, meaning Gazprom Oil. Its CEO, Alexander Duikov, had headed the St. Petersburg port, and today only a handful of private oil companies remain. Lukoil is the largest. Its CEO, Vagit Alekperov, started his career working offshore in the Caspian and then in the West Siberia before coming to Moscow as a deputy energy minister in the late 1980s, where he developed the idea of starting a Western-style oil company in Russia. Both Mikhail Gorbachev and Boris Yeltsin had bad luck when it came to oil, with price collapses that sent the economy spiraling downwards. And by contrast, Vladimir Putin had very good luck, for petroleum prices recovered as he came to power in 2000 and continued to rise during the BRIC era. Output, which had fallen by almost half with the collapse of the Soviet Union, rebounded. This was made possible by new investment that included investment by Western companies, which also brought Western technology and practices, all of which had been shut out during Soviet times, and was blended with traditional Soviet capabilities. By the end of 2018, Russian output reached 11.4 million barrels per day, as high as the peak for Russia in Soviet days. The value of Russia's oil exports increased eightfold between 2000 and 2012, from $36 billion to $284 billion a year. The annual value of gas exports over the same period increased from $17 billion to $67 billion. As oil and gas revenues mounted, Russia went from economic weaknesses to strength, paying off international debts, raising wages and living standards, increasing pensions, saving money, in the stabilization funds, spending more on defense, and financing its restoration as a great power. Russia was a major beneficiary of the commodity supercycle in the BRIC era and the strong demand from emerging market countries that defined it. More than anything, that meant China and its favored economic growth. A deputy prime minister in his office on Old Square in Moscow was once asked about what was going to happen in Russia's economy. He gestured towards the window and pointed to the east. "Tell me what's going to happen in China?" he replied. Well, this is the end of chapter 9. Sigo a leitura no próximo vídeo.